And now joining us on the panel, we got the champ in the house, the one and only Mr. Ricky Jackson.
There he is.
Pretty Ricky, what they call him. So, y'all know when y'all see the champ, it's time to talk about some boxing. All right, so the first thing we want to get off into is the fight between Mr. Saul Canelo Alvarez and Kirkland last week here in Houston at Minute Maid Park. Champ, talk to me about that fight.
Well, I think I indicated that Kirkland minus Wolf means no win. I mean, and that's for a variety of reasons. I mean, she had the handle on Kirkland to keep him in control, make him behave, make him get ready for his fights, and keep him in the process of boxing to be successful.
Right.
You know, that was his second loss, and that was his second time without and Wolf. You know, so, I mean, the thing about Kirkland is he's a guy that has issues, you know. He has trouble outside the ring, and boxing is a sport about discipline. If you don't have that discipline to stay focused on the process, of course you're going to fail at it. So, I mean, he went out there and tried to jump on Alvarez and shoot his best shot, but when he, as they say, shot his wad, game over, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it'd probably be the fight with the knockout of the year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he got destroyed after the first round. You know, and listening to Ann Wolf after that fight, she had sympathy for him. Maybe not his performance, but she had sympathy for him. I understand how that goes with, you know, you have a relationship with a fighter for X amount of years, X amount of fights, so that becomes family.
Right.
So, you know, to see them get destroyed like that and know what goes on behind the scenes, she was sympathetic to it, and I can appreciate that. You know, but, you know, this is big-time boxing, man.
It is.
You know, this is as good as the game gets, and he stepped out there, I think, half-cocked, you know, with issues outside the ring, and it cost him dearly.
Yeah.
You know, he got destroyed after the
He
first
did.
round.
I don't even know the brother. And
Yeah.
I was sympathetic toward him. I wanted to go help him up.
But the sad thing about this is it really could have been a good fight if he had prepared properly and kept his house in order, and it would have been probably could have had the potential to be the fight of the year if it had been brought together correctly. So unfortunate for him, unfortunate for the boxing fans. You know, it turned out to be just what was expected, which was him go out there and get pretty much handled by Alvarez. So
Now, the first round was actually a pretty good round.
that was it.
Yeah.
But it ended right there for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He like you said, I think he went out too hard, too fast, and he ran out of gas. That's what I saw too.
Yeah.
What you think?
Well, it really was over at the first round. And
Yeah.
after this fight was over, I couldn't help but think to myself that his corner did him a disservice by not stopping the fight sooner, especially the referee, because you knew after that first round it was over. I mean, Kirkland, his legs were a little jelly. He was pushing his punches as opposed to, you know, throwing them. And Canelo actually kind of was coasting a little bit in round two, you know, kind of collecting himself, you know, not being as aggressive. And of course, he finished him in round three.
Right.
I think round three, when he knocked down Kirkland with that uppercut, the fight should have been stopped.
Exactly. I said the same thing.
And from that point forward, the damage that he took, I don't know why. Maybe I'm getting a little mellow as I get older or something, but I was thinking about Jermaine Taylor, because I bet you the damage that he took after that uppercut, I mean, it was probably exponential. I mean, that was
That was a hard shot.
that was brutal. I was expecting them to cut to a shot of Duke on the side of the corner, like, throw in the
damn
towel.
towel.
I mean, it really kind of, you know, brought out the bleeding heart in me. And I think people, they let the fight go on because of the fact that the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight was a stinker, and Canelo really, I mean, his star power. Say what you want about, you know, the brutality of that fight, his star power just. Oof.
Yeah, that last punch that knocked him out.
Holy cow.
They called it a straight. To me, it looked more of a straight hook. It's like a hybrid between a straight and a hook, and that is one of the hardest shots I've seen in a while. Underneath the heavyweight division.
I mean, look, I'm a fan of good fights. I'm a fan of great knockouts. Ricky Hatton versus Pacquiao. That's an example of a great knockout. This, I felt like someone in the Coliseum waiting for someone to be slaughtered. I mean, this.
If he does, he does.
Well, you know, knowing a little bit about Kirkland, I mean, that was the only way he can go.
Right.
I mean, because if anything else would have happened, him stop too soon, he would have been disappointed with his corner. So sometime knowing the character of the fighter, you got to allow them to do what they do supposedly best, and that's go out on your back sometime.
Right.
You know.
And, and you know, he was never really, at least I'll see what y'all think. He never really was out of it. He was hurt.
Until he got hit that last.
Yeah, well, that last time, that last time.
But no questions
the
asked
two
after
previous knockdowns, he never was out of it. He was hurt.
Yeah.
But even when he got back up, he was straight. But he was just slow because he was out of gas. What do you think?
From the outside looking in, it looked like this should have been stopped sooner.
Right.
As
Like you say,
as
after
a
the
trainer myself, I would have let it go. I'm sorry. I mean, because I don't want to be questioned with the fact that why did you stop it? You know, so sometime when a guy's tough and he's gritty, he's edgy, you got to let him sometime find out the hard way.
And that's interesting. It's the different philosophies. I mean, I don't know how, the rookie trainer obviously was thinking that way too. But I felt like the Angulo-Kirkland fight was a different story because obviously, Angulo and Canelo, they're two different caliber type fighters. But in this situation, I felt like after the first knockdown, he didn't really have a chance the way he did against Angulo. I think as a trainer, you got to get a feel for that. But, that's me. Everyone's different. That's just the feeling that I had going in.
Well, with the Angulo fight, he had a world-class corner.
Right.
And with the Kirkland fight, he had an amateur corner. So that was the difference.
That's a common denominator. You can't argue with it.
He's a completely different fighter without Ann Wolf in his corner.
And most fighters are.
Yeah.
I mean, because fighting is about creatures of habit. You become into the habit of the voice and the process. And when you step away from that, some guys can make those adjustments if they do it in an adequate amount of time. Most fighters can't, because you become used to a process that suddenly and abruptly, in this case, changed. So it threw everything off,
Right.
Evidently so.
Now, where does Canelo, first of all, go from here? What's next?
Canelo has a lot of options. I mean, the world is his oyster right now. He can... I think he's looking at Cotto right now. I think that's the next huge fight in boxing, just from a number standpoint, a star power standpoint. Obviously, Triple G is an option for any of these guys, and an unwelcome option right now. Everyone wants to fight him in the future, hopefully when he gets a little older. But I think everyone's looking at Cotto and Canelo. I think that would be a fantastic fight, another Puerto Rico versus Mexico fight. And we'll see what happens. These guys are kind of involved in this triangle right now. We got Daniel Gill and Cotto fighting soon, Triple G fighting Monroe.
Monroe tonight, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely. I think they're all kind of looking at each other.
Right. Now, that's a perfect set. Let me ask you real quickly, champ. As a former fighter, how do you rebound from that? Nah, you ain't never got knocked out like that. You never got knocked out. But rebounding from a loss in general, how do you come back?
You speaking of Kirkland?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he has to put his house back in order. I mean, the two losses he had, his house was out of order, meaning he was minus Ann Wolf. So he has to reconsider some adjustments that was maybe ill-made and go back to what got him where he was.
That's it.
If he don't do that, I think we will continue to see the same thing, and it might get a little worse. I think that fight started to put him on the downside of his career. So you're going to have to put the one person that can put him together and put him out there and show a good performance. I think that's his only option.
Okay.
Do you think that that will happen?
Well, I mean, depends on what happened behind the scenes. She seemed to be pretty compassionate about his loss. So that may bring them back together and negotiate some terms that may have fell apart. And put it back together. I mean, she doesn't have, I don't think, anybody else right now that she's working with of a status of a Kirkland.
Right.
So it would be to her best interest as well as a trainer to get a pretty much developed fighter that has some pedigree and get back on the scene, So for it would be to both of their best interests to come back together.
And he only has 2 losses on his record. At the end of the day, he's an exciting fighter.
Yeah.
His promoter, 50 Cent, wants him to be back with Ann Wolf, actually.
Right. Now,
50 Cent.
That's a whole nother
Not doing
animal.
well right now.
That's a whole nother animal. So so now we want to talk a little bit about segueing into the Triple G and Willie Monroe fight, which is tonight, as a matter of fact. Champ, talk to me about that fight.
Might see what you saw last week.
Uh-oh. Triple G don't destroy him like
Well, Triple V has the tremendous punching power, great ring skills, ability, and he's a great boxer, And I think the kid Monroe is limited.
He's only had 20 fights.
Who is Monroe?
Yeah, he's only had 20
What has he done?
Yeah.
So he's on the big stage, and the big stage by itself is a big hill to conquer. So you might see a 3, 4, at best 6-round fight, and I think Kirk's going to go out there and do what Triple G is going to go out there and do what he do, set him up, pick his punches, and finish him when he gets ready.
Okay.
That's unfortunate, but we won't see a great fight. When you have heard of one guy and haven't heard the other guy,
Yeah, I'm not
every
gonna lie.
now and again, you might get something great, but most of the time it's going to be as it's presented, one side of the fight.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tula?
I know I heard on a podcast that Golovkin wanted to use this fight as a measurement to show that he can fight against all styles. Obviously, Willie Monroe is a slick fighter.
Southpaw also.
Yeah, Southpaw.
Yeah.
19
Always a
wins.
challenge.
Not a threat to really knock him out. Golovkin, he has 6 knockouts and 19 wins.
Right.
But we'll see. I think this is more of another showcase for Golovkin to show
Exactly.
footwork and that he can close off the ring against, perhaps a slick southpaw.
And nobody will fight him.
And that's another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Don't nobody
will
want
fight
none of
him.
that right
Yeah,
now.
nobody want to
because,
fight him.
I haven't seen Monroe fight,
Yeah.
but I've seen Triple G fight, and they don't want none of that right now.
And you might not see Monroe fight tonight, too.
The hardest.
An interesting thing is, on boxing scene, I was reading that Golovkin, who has underrated footwork and skills, he was saying he could fight like he was talking about Mayweather. He could fight like him, but he's just really a man of the people. He just likes the action, big drama show.
Right. Well, we got to take a break, so we thank the champ for joining us. We'll be right back.